Hey everyone, I'm Thomas,
I'm Jordan.
and today we're reviewing the Chainsaw Man Reze Arc movie.
Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze Arc, continues right where season 1 of Chainsaw Man the anime left off, with all the main characters, Denji, Aki, and the gang, as Denji encounters a new face. Reze is the new girl in town, and she is hiding a few surprises under her sleeve. I absolutely love this movie.
This movie was fantastic. I don't know about you, but when I first watched Chainsaw Man, the first season of the anime, I liked it. Micro review, I give it a 7 out of 10. It left me wanting more. I didn't really feel like I got my full share of it, but so I was kind of nervous about watching this movie. But when I got to the theater, I sat down and watched it. It was peak to say nothing else. I mean, it left me wanting more in a similar fashion of, I want more of this, but not in the sense that there was something missing. It's just that I was just ready to continue the story, and I did. But we're keeping the review to this movie specifically. There's just so much to talk about. I think the first thing that we need to discuss is the animation. I think if nothing else, you should watch this movie for the animation.
Yeah.
It's produced by MAPPA. They've done projects like Jujutsu Kaisen. They've done the final season of Attack on Titan. I think they did Yuri on Ice. They did a bunch of good things, and Chainsaw Man is definitely one of those landmark projects of theirs where it's just superb animation with great action moments, and like it makes you really feel like you're part of the story.
And I think it's worth mentioning that the director of this movie is actually different from the director of the first season
Oh,
of
no
the
kidding.
anime. Yeah, they adopted a slightly different art style this time around that is, from what I've heard, a little more faithful to the manga compared to the first season of the show. I enjoyed the animation of the first season of the show. It was very like gritty and dry in a way that made it feel a little cinematic.
It fit the vibe of the
Yes.
first season.
And that said, the way the color pops in this new animation style, it's so electric and magnetic. Every motion has so much life behind it. You cannot look away. My one complaint was that in the big action scenes towards the end, it could become a little overstimulating. There were parts where the action climax of this movie involves a man with a chainsaw head riding on a shark horse through a giant typhoon with a baby head in the middle.
Yes.
And as cool as that is, there are a lot of moments where you have to kind of like rub your eyes, like, what is happening right now? They could have maybe taken it a little slower.
Personally, I really enjoyed the overstimulation of it all. It really encapsulated this crazy situation of, a guy with a chainsaw head riding on a shark horse into a typhoon that's with a giant baby head with the bomb girl. Sorry, by the way, there are heavy spoilers in this movie,
Yes.
in this review. So if you haven't watched the Reze Arc or read up to the Reze Arc, definitely click off this video by now. But speaking of which, Reze is the main antagonist of this movie. You said in the synopsis that she is the girl next door. She kind of enters Denji's life. Denji is a character who has never really had anything in his life, and he just wants to experience the thrills of young love.
Yeah,
For lack of better words, I won't get more descriptive than that. You can kind of put two and two together, but he meets Reze, and they kind of just hit it off. Denji has a thing for his boss at the
Public Safety
Division 4, Makima. Makima is a very controlling woman, but Denji is conflicted with his feelings between Makima and Reze. But sooner or later, Reze she invites Denji into her web, and they eventually begin to get along. Denji is definitely falling in love with this girl, Reze, and at the very surface of it all, she seems to be falling in love with him as well. And the scene that really I wanted to talk about in this movie was the moment in the pool.
Yeah.
Reze invites Denji to hang out in the school after hours because Reze is just super surprised that Denji has never been to school. And so, one thing leads to another. They end up skinny dipping in the pool, just a bold representation of what young love is and how Denji is, getting to experience these moments in his life in which he never used to. But to me, this pool scene, people have given a lot of flack for it, just, kind of being a fan service moment.
Yeah, it's a little gratuitous.
But I think if you want to understand Chainsaw Man, you have to have these moments in which Denji is, he's a guy who's always being taken advantage of. And Reze, spoiler alert, she is just trying to get after his heart, his Chainsaw Man heart. And so she's just kind of like inviting him into the pool to kind of like ensnare him. And we see that in the symbolism metaphor of the butterfly being caught in the spider web during this scene.
I had a different interpretation
Really?
of that scene. I actually thought that the bug being caught by the spider web was Reze.
Interesting.
And I feel that the web was Makima.
That's interesting.
Because
Whoa.
they are both, the two of them have their own independent goals, but at the end of the day, they were both playing directly into her hand. I like in fact, one of my favorite through lines of the entire movie is the analogy of the country mouse and the city mouse.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It is a really great piece of symbolism, and I like that at the end it's revealed that it's all kind of an illusion.
It's all an illusion.
Right? Because you can be a country mouse or you can be a city mouse, but at the end of the day, no matter which place you decide to go, there's always a cat.
There's always a cat. And
Makima.
the cat is Makima. I hate to say it, guys, if you haven't read ahead of this in this story, Makima
Not
is
to be trusted.
not to be trusted. Makima's always listening. She's always watching. Yeah, the cat and the mouse analogy. The very end. And can we just jump to this final scene in the story? I know
The
we
last
just
scene
went
of
into
this
the pool.
film is absolutely tragic.
Reze. So after the climactic battle, Denji kind of gets to Reze's heart, being like, "Hey, why don't we just run away together? We can still have fun together. I, forgive you for trying to kill me. I just want to, enjoy being with you." And Reze, for as much as she put up with being like, no, that wasn't true. Like, I was only trying to use you. I was just trying to get to you for my own goals. That was not true. I think Reze really did fall for Denji. I think his goofy and silly antics really got to her. And so we see that when Reze is about to run away, she's about to get on the train, she stays behind and she starts to run back to the cafe where they first met, or where they really second met. But in the alleyway right across from the cafe, she is ran into by Makima. Who has kind of revealed that she has been watching them the entire time with that huge amalgamation of rats. Yeah, and so Reze is taken out by Makima and the Angel Devil. We haven't even talked about this subplot between Angel and Aki.
Devil and Aki have a really interesting subplot that also plays into the rest of the Part 1 story, which we're not going to get into
that.
I think a good note to close this conversation out on is that Chainsaw Man is a story about a character who has never gotten the privilege to be a human being, learning what that means, and the good and the bad that comes with the condition of being human.
Right.
I love the line that Reze delivers right before her, death, that she never got to go to school either.
No.
She and Denji were both denied the privilege of existing as humans. And that's also why, the last thing I really want to touch on is my favorite scene in the entire movie comes after the credits. I really enjoy the interaction that takes place between Denji and Power, who is absent from most of the movie, and returns to remind him that despite the loss of this love, there always is love to be found.
Right.
And that even though those different types of relationships take different shapes, there's always something to keep going for. And that, at its core, is why I love Chainsaw Man.
They bicker, they fight. They really don't get along all too often. Him and Power and Aki, they all room together, and
but
they really don't get along on the surface. But that's what a family is. They fight, they bicker, and I think as the story progresses, Denji does eventually begin to learn that he has this family and he does love them, and he does respect them, and as do all of each other. Just one little thing before we review: there was not enough Power. I know the manga had her out of the story. I just love Power.
Not her story.
I think she's hilarious.
It's my favorite character in the entire series.
Mine as well. But, this story just didn't have enough room for another crazy character.
We
but
got
anyways, we did get Beam. I loved Beam. And what would you give this movie out of 10?
Out of 10, I would give Chainsaw Man the movie Reze Arc about like an 8.5 out of 10 to a 9.
Yeah.
I'll settle on 8.5.
We have a thing around here at Review Crew where you can't do decimal points. I should have prefaced that.
I'll see myself out. I'll give it a 9.
Listen, I had the same situation as you. When I walked out, I was torn between giving this an 8 or a 9. An 8 or a 9. And so if decimals existed, I would give it an 8.5. But because I like Chainsaw Man, I'm going to round it up as well and give it a 9. 9 out of 10 for Chainsaw Man, the Reze Arc. And I can't wait for the next season of the show. I can't wait for what else Mappa's going to animate on Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, dude, beautiful series. Just can't wait to see
fantastic.
more.
Well,
I'm going to go back and watch it again.
I might do the same thing. Well, that's enough from us on the Chainsaw Man movie. We're going to see you guys later.